Welcome, welcome. How is everyone doing today? Um, if you've ever been on a workshop with me, or if this is your first time, I love interaction. I love us getting to know each other. That's what it is all about. I am here for you all, and I want you all to get the most out of this presentation. Take notes, meet new people, have fun. So feel free to network, put your LinkedIn in the comments if you want. Get to know new people. If you're a business owner, I would be, if you are looking for a new role, I would be networking, getting to know people. Also, feel free to put in the comments and let me know where you're joining from. I am coming to you all by way of Texas. It has actually been raining in Texas all week. This is the first since I have lived here that I have seen it rain for like 4 or 5 days straight. The first. So hopefully we'll get a lot. Hey Sonia from California. Is it let me make sure, is it Upasana? Or let me know how to pronounce your name from India. And you've got your LinkedIn in there. All right. Hey, Dr. Wilburn, you got your LinkedIn in there. Connect with each other. Have fun. Let me know. Let me know what you all are doctors of. Do you have medical doctor, PhD? My daughter, recently, just last year, she got her PhD as a nurse practitioner. So she's Dr. Dent. So we call her Dr. Dent. So I'm so happy about that. So today's workshop is going to be all about how I manifested 40,000 in 1 month. Dot, dot, dot. As a woman of color, look, dot, 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 working only 20 hours per week. I'm going to share some personal stories with you all about my mom being diagnosed with a terminal illness. So, kind of trigger warning there. I like to tell people that up front. I am going to talk about that and share my story and how all of these things that I now do kind of came to fruition. I'll share more about myself, but I want to hear from you all. What are your intentions for this session, for this training, for your life? And I'm going to share with you all a lot about my clients. Oh, I had some, you know what? I had some client stories. I don't think I put them in here. So, I have screenshots, but I have some screenshots. So we may just have to go out of camera for a minute or go back in camera. We'll see. However, that's what we're going to talk about today. I am your host, Latrice Huff. This is sponsored by my program, Dream Life CEO. I'm going to get into it. I've only like did this through Canva like one other time. I liked it. So, but just bear with me. All right, what you should know, I'm going to teach you on my framework to attract ideal clients who value your work, pay your rates, and refer you to others. And let me be clear when I say attract ideal clients. This method and what I'm going to share with you all has worked for myself and my clients, getting corporate clients, getting jobs and roles for your career, getting speaking engagements, getting coaching clients. It all works. Okay. When we talk about getting your ideal client, I recently had a client that I was working with to actually get a leadership role. She wound up having her own LLC and landed a $300,000 client. Okay. So she was able to make 300,000 in less than 12 months. So, just so you all know, this framework and what I'm going to share with you all works regardless of how you want your life to go. Whether you're like, I'm looking for a job, I want to quit my job and go full time in my business, I'm looking to attract more clients, this is going to work. I'm going to share about my open enrollment for my Dream Life CEO program with an extra special 48-hour bonus. You're going to discover how to increase your income, create new opportunities, and attract ideal clients using mindset, messaging, manifestation. We'll have a 30-minute Q&A session at the end, so you can ask me any questions you like, business, careers, manifestation, current events. We can talk about it all. Get your coaching. This is a great time to talk one-on-one with me. Well, okay. Take notes and comment. Again, I love the interaction. I gotta let someone in. You guys, if anyone knows how I can screen share and take and take off the wait list, the waiting room, please let me know. But yes, take notes, comment. Here's the thing, I really don't even mind if you all come off mute and we have like a very brief conversation. If you haven't noticed, I am a more verbal person than I am written. So I'm not somebody who's going to write a lot of comments. I try not to have a lot of slides and a lot of text on my slides because I am more of a verbal person. If that's you, you can raise your hand, you can ask to come off mute, and you can ask your question that way, or you can type in the comments. I am going to share with you all the surprising forgiveness practice that I use before manifesting income. Um, I am going to share the three biggest mistakes that I see and I've witnessed business owners make when trying to attract more income. And just so you all know, I'm going to give my quick bio, but just so you all know, I have had several businesses. I have had businesses when I was working. I had a marketing company. I had like I did marketing. I did accounting. I hated accounting. These were my own businesses. I then, when I was going to do like recruiting and corporate consulting, and then landed on coaching. I also have a business degree. Let me be clear on that. There are a lot of people out there giving a lot of business advice who have never ran a business and know nothing. I have ran multiple businesses and I actually have a business degree. This is my degree of study, right? And I'm telling you all, from all of that, mindset and manifestation have been the biggest things to help me get results. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you all that. The three, when we talk about mistakes, my mother was a business owner. So I saw entrepreneurship and business ownership in my family from a very young age. And I could see all the mistakes she was making, all the mistakes the business owners around her were making, the mistakes I made, the mistakes my clients make. So I'm going to share all of that with you all. The visualization practice I use to increase my income and attract clients consistently. And I want to say this caveat, not just clients, you want your dream clients. Okay. Dream clients are going to be those ones who are going to pay your rates, value your services, refer you to others, not cause a ton of problems, but challenge you as well. You want dream clients because all money ain't good money. So we're going to caveat any place I have clients, I need you all to just know I mean dream clients. Okay. How to align your actions so opportunities begin to flow towards you. Meaning there are actions taken. When people hear manifestation, they're like, so you just meditated all day and dreamed and daydreamed? No, I did take some strategic action. I recommend action. It is just not the 109 steps that they tell you need to take. And the exact framework I use to attract ideal clients who value my work, pay my rates, and refer others. This is also why, even though I have a business degree with a concentration in marketing, I don't need to do a ton of marketing because my clients continue to renew with me, refer me to other clients, and bring me other opportunities. Let me see. Any questions before we kind of jump right into it? Any questions? Um, Again, welcome. So I kind of already told you my bio, but I'm just going to quickly read what I have on here. I'm a career leadership coach, a speaker, personal branding expert, HR veteran, and founder of Dream Life CEO. I help women of color stop playing it safe, become fearless, and have the business and life of their dreams. Like you want to have your dream life. I have supported dozens, probably hundreds of clients at this point who are business owners, who are leaders, who are in the C-suite, while they can do this while still enjoying their lives, being authentic to themselves and creating a lasting impact while still having financial freedom. Your finances are still big. You want the finances with the flexibility and the freedom. We're usually taught you get one or the other, meaning if you want the finances, you have to work, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. If you want freedom, that means you're going to be working that much and you're not going to make that much money. Not true. And I'm going to share with you all how this is not true. All right. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. let me go back. So this is just my quick story. I have over 10 years experience in human resources from working my way up, running my own department to now running my own business. I went from being a struggling single mother to negotiating a $20,000 promotion to myself to getting promoted to doubling my income without burnout or increasing my hours. I climbed that corporate ladder, did all the things. And then I wanted to become the leader of my career in life. I wanted freedom. I wanted flexibility. I also started over, moved out of my house, moved to a different, married a man, moved to a different state, and had a baby. So if you cannot tell, there's actually a 20-year gap in between my kids. See the big. So, when we talk about creating that dream life and manifesting what you want, I have done it in all scenarios. This for me, some of the tips and stories I'm going to share with you all, some came from wonderful, great things happening in my life, like falling in love, getting married, having a baby. Some of it came from some challenging things, like having my mother being diagnosed with a terminal illness right in January of 2020, right? Um, like not being able to take my son to daycare while having to take care of my mom while trying to figure out how I'm going to manage my clients, and I needed to increase my income because my mother did not have any savings. So me and my sisters were financing her care on our own. So just to kind of tell you a little bit about where I was mentally and physically and financially when I had to discover some of these things. While I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to manifest money, I was like, okay, how can I also manage my mother's care? One thing specifically I'll share with you all is my mom, she got diagnosed with a terminal illness. She then had an experimental treatment. That experimental treatment then turned into ALS. It was a domino kind of effect in the worst way. So she needed this chair that was very expensive to help her get in and out of the seat. It lifted. It was a $3,000 chair. Did not have that money. I was like, okay, I need to figure out how I can work less, have more mental and physical capacity, and make more money. And the things people were telling me, the things I learned in business school was not going to get it. The things that I was working with the coach, the things that she was telling me, email, get on social media every day, do all these lives, weren't going to work for me. I was actually taking off a week every month to take care of my mom after her treatments. So I had to figure out how can I work less, have my mental capacity, and still make more money. And that's what I'm going to take you all through. And I'm sharing this story because I want you all to see what is possible. Right now, there is a lot going on in the world. I would even say the stress that's going on right now is probably very equivalent to what was going on in 2020. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of job loss, a lot of high prices. A lot of people being like, what is next for me? A lot of things that we counted on or that we thought were secure are not now, are showing and proving themselves to not be secure. Okay. All right. So tell me if this is you. You can just raise your hand. You're a talented, educated, accomplished, but you struggle with imposter syndrome and self-doubt. This is me. You want to make a bigger impact and leave a lasting legacy, but you feel stuck and held back. This is me. You are successful on paper, but suffocating inside. That was me. And people would look, they'd be like, oh, you have the degree, you had the career, you had the husband, the kid, like everything is great. It wasn't. It wasn't. You have the business, some flexibility, but no freedom. You feel like you should be further along. That's LI should be life, but you don't know where to start. If any of these resonated with you, you can just, put a little high one thumbs up in the comment. Let me know. If anything else, if you're like, Latrice, I got some other things going on, let me know. All right, but let's talk about it for a minute. Let's set an intention for tonight. What is it that you want to get here? You've dedicated, we're going to try to keep this to an hour, maybe an hour and a half. You saw the title, you know what it's about. What is your intention for tonight? And no, like, I want to learn some tips to make money. Like, not like that. Like, something like, I want a mindset shift. I want to, really work less and increase my income. I want to figure out how to spend more time with my family. I want to have more time for myself. I want to put my health care. What is your intention? You can either come off mute or you all can put it in the comments. But I want to know, what are your intentions for tonight? I have one more question. And then, what do you want for your life? When we talk about dream life, when we talk about business, when we're talking about our careers, what are we talking about here? What is it for you? And everybody's going to be different and at different moments. At that moment 6 years ago, it was about, how can I, because my son daycare shut down, how can I be there for my son, take care of my mother, still be a halfway decent wife, right? And I needed to bring in income. And I was like, I needed my income to increase. How can I do these things? Now, recently, it was, okay, how can I go on field trips with my son? How can I be sure to volunteer more? How can and this is me, Latrice, I wanted to have monthly date nights with my husband. How can I also, for me, I wanted to work out more. I'm 45. So the weight doesn't come off things, the body is different, right? And I was like, how can I do things for me while still having the financial freedom, the mind freedom, and the flexibility that I desire? Everyone needs to be thinking about this. What is it for you? And if you don't want to share, write it down, but you need to have this somewhere. When I think about my dream life, I usually do like these 12 goals, right? And again, they can change. It is my dream life. I have some people who are like, I don't want no kids. I'm gonna be auntie to everybody. I want to be the rich auntie. You want to be the rich auntie? Fine. I have other people who are like, I want to volunteer more with my church. For me, I am someone who likes to volunteer at the school. What is it for you? You really need to have this written down. I'm all about mindset, but this is something that needs to get out of your mind and on paper. If you don't want to put it on paper, put it on your computer, but it does need to be stored somewhere outside of your mind. Let me know if this makes sense. It needs to be stored somewhere outside of our minds. I'm just going to do this part really quickly. We already know what's going on, but I just wanted to go over some of the challenges women of color face in business. Sometimes you're the only one in that level or the room, feeling like we don't belong. I have a theory that women of color make the best business owners. This is this is my personal theory, but they also have studies that show that women of color actually produce a higher percentage of revenue, especially when we get investments, like we don't churn through the money as much, we actually bring more in. Being misunderstood, with all the DEI programs being cut at alarming rates, I cannot tell you how many colleagues I've had actually like stop their businesses because their entire business was surrounded around DE&I. DE&I, whether they did government contracts, whether they did DE&I trainings for corporations, but it was somehow centered and it was a huge portion of their income, right? That does not mean they weren't great business owners. It just means they need to pivot, maybe call things something else. But we don't always have mentors and coaches to guide us like other people do. People may already have personal like opinions and personal biases, right? We all know what is going on with this world. We're not going to shy away from politics. I can tell you all, in Texas, when I first moved here, they had this huge conference specifically for minority-owned businesses and women, and it was completely free. It was like 3,000 people there, and they had lunch, they had seminars, and they had all these vendors. And the whole point was for you to get these state and local contracts. And I went 2 years in a row. You all know they completely dismantled that this year. or last year. They usually have it in December. Completely dismantle that. There were actually quite a few minority grants and I would say like subsidies that Texas actually had. They completely got rid of those. Right. So we're seeing some shifts, which is even more reason why I feel like we need to be controlling our own income and know how to create and manifest things without external resources. They are great when we have them, but sometimes no reasons at all, besides somebody just woke up one day and felt like they could be gone. So we all know the challenges that we face in business. However, just to share some good news, you all know women of color and Black women have the number one, the highest rate of starting new businesses in America. And now with even more of the job loss, I don't know if you heard, but I think it's about like up to 600,000 Black women have lost their jobs or been removed from the workforce in the last 18 months. On the flip side, what we're seeing is a lot of Black women and women of color starting businesses in America. The problem is, and I'm going to go over some of these mistakes, is what we do once we start in those businesses. We tend to keep that same worker bee mindset, which is not productive and it's not helpful. I don't want to skip this one. We don't need this one. We're gonna go right into it. I want to check the comments really quickly because let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Dr. Wilbur, I'm a doctor of strategic leadership. Okay, from Michigan, Chicago native. Let me tell you, I get along so well with people from Chicago. I am from Baltimore. I don't know if you all can hear my Baltimore accent, but I'm from Chicago. And I always think, I mean, I'm from Baltimore, and I always think people from Chicago and New York are like my kindred spirits. We tend to get along, my kindred spirits. Yeah, you hear it? I used to be so self-conscious about my Baltimore accent. Now I'm like, it is what it is. But yes, Chicago, you're my kindred spirit. Chicago and New York are my people. All right, so I'm gonna kind of get right into it now. We kind of did the intro. Are y'all taking notes? Y'all should have some things on your paper too. So I'm gonna get right into it, and then I'm gonna go over the mistakes. Keep in mind, if you have any questions, you do not need to wait till the end to ask your question. We don't do that here, unless it's something I'm gonna address at the end. But typically, you don't need to do that. Okay, so the first thing I did is a forgiveness practice. I had never heard people really talk about this, especially in business, but I do have the belief that in order to receive, you need to release. You need to release. And it's so many times people are like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And you're holding on to all of this internal baggage. And we're wondering why what we want doesn't come to fruition, why it's not manifesting, right? Why are we holding on to so much? I started to forgive and release things, not just mental, but also physical. Like I was like, I'm gonna clean out my closet and clean my room. Um, but I'm gonna share this. I'll tell you all how powerful this is. I was actually taking a manifestation course. I don't know if you all have ever heard of Jose Silva. He's passed on the glory, but he has this whole thing, the Silva method, and his daughter was teaching it. She's in like her 70s now, but he's one of the pioneers of manifestation, things like that. And he did a lot of scientific experiments too, based on this. And his daughter was teaching this class. And while I was taking it, my goal was to manifest this $40,000. And the way they were teaching was great. I learned so much. But one of the huge things she talked about was like listening to your intuition. And my intuition was really telling me, like, Latrice, you need to forgive. So at the end of the course, and I was like sharing with everyone how I manifested this 40,000. And I had one of the people, she was like, how did you do this? I did everything they said, and I did like manifest this. And I was like, I did one thing that was surprising that I've never heard of, but I listened to my intuition and I did research and found that this was like a real thing, right? And it was a forgiveness practice. I was like, every day for 30 days, I chose to forgive someone. And you guys, I would say about 50% of the time, the person I needed to forgive was me. It was Latrice. Something I was thinking, guilt, shame. Did I say something bad? Why am I'm holding all this blockage that was preventing me from receiving and manifesting? It was preventing me from seeing the opportunities in front of me. So the practice that I used, I went into like a very light meditation. And when I say light, it's really like a 3-2-1 method, just light. And I just asked myself, like, where do I feel this heaviness? For me, it was my lower back. Some people may feel it in their chest, some people may feel it in their stomach, some people may feel it in their throat. But I asked myself, where did I feel this heaviness? And for me, it was my lower back. And I was like, okay, I am definitely holding something. I would just ask myself, who do I need to forgive? One time it came up, it was this girl from like high school that I got into a fight with. And I was like, okay, I need to forgive her, right? It was somebody from and the next time it could have been like one of my sisters or my mom, right? Like, but I really went through and was like, I forgive you. Like, even if at the time it wasn't 100%, because sometimes some people, some instances came up multiple times. But I just simply was like, who do I need to forgive? And then I truly was like, I forgive you. I forgive this person. I forgive blank. And then I had a visualization process where I visualized like a black kind of like rhinestone, like a diamond, like coming out of my back and me just tossing it and it disappearing into something positive. What I want you to take from this, you don't have to do that whole thing, but asking yourself in a very calm and honest way, who do I need to forgive? Saying you forgive them and having some sort of I would say make it tangible, having some sort of vision or thing that can come out of you and go away. Whether I'm no longer, I forgive myself for speaking these negative words, for gossip or whatever, and you see it come out your mouth and it's gone into something positive, right? That practice, doing that, I would notice, I would actually feel lighter. I would get more ideas. I would feel better during the week or during the day. And this was something I had never heard people talk about forgiveness before you actually start manifesting, before you take action. Most of the time is like, do the action, do the action. Everything will come once you take action. And y'all, that's not true because the actions will be heavy and hard if you do not start releasing and letting go. Let me know if this makes sense. If you're like, okay, I get it, I hear you, you can put like a Y in the comments. And let me know if you have ever tried a forgiveness practice, but let me know. Have you all? Let me check the comments. Yes. Okay. Stephanie says yes. He says, yes, I hear it. Love it. Okay. Yes. And again, I kept it very simple, but I dedicated to doing it every day. I said, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days and just see how I feel. Because that first day felt so great, I started doing it. I started incorporating this in my coaching with my clients. Instead of saying, who do you need to forgive? I would be like, well, what do you think is blocking you? Usually it is something from either their childhood, or some sort of like their childhood, them, or a relationship. Those are really the three options. And then it really wasn't forgiveness processes, but in that we were like, okay, how do we deal with this? How can we release this? It's too heavy on you. It's blocking you from receiving. It's blocking you from receiving ideas, from receiving more money, more love, more friends, better clients. Again, this is easy. It would take me like, sometimes it would take me 1 to 2 minutes because I still had to get up and take my son to school, say hi to my husband. Maybe I fixed breakfast. Maybe we ate cereal. Like I still had to do other things. So I'm sharing this so you all know it doesn't have to take a long time, but it is about some sort of dedication. Okay. And then the visualization. This is fun. So this is I call stepping into the new me. I am a huge fan of like mirror work. Like if you come to my house, you're gonna see like post-its on my mirror with affirmations. I'm that girl, right? And it has worked for me. If you all couldn't tell from the beginning, I had my daughters very young. I visualization I was doing before I even knew it was a thing. I have always like manifested and visualized. Um, Even when I was that teenage mom, by the time I was 16, I had already had two kids. So just to put things in perspective, in high school, people told me I wouldn't graduate. I would be on a welfare queen. Like you name the most derogatory thing you could think of, and that's what people said to me to my face. Being able to visualize seeing my future allowed me to graduate in I was 22 when I graduated for college. I bought my first house at 20. I was either 25 or 26 when I bought my first house. I had bought cars outright. That I was able to pay for that. I had a thriving career. I have great kids. Like I said, one of my daughters just got her doctorate and has her PhD. My one daughter has a master's degree. Both of my daughters are college graduates. So if someone were to look at me in the beginning, I checked all the boxes for the stereotypes, and you would have thought you would have been able to predict my life and my daughter's lives, and it just simply was not true. And I wholeheartedly grant that towards visualization. And in the at that time, I would just use visualization for I'm like small things like I would see myself graduating if I'm like had a hard class. I even visualized and created my dream house, the house that I bought. That was the house that I had visualized when I was like working two jobs as a waitress. Okay. People were like, "You gonna buy a house?" I was like, "I'm gonna buy a 4 bedroom house. What have this bathroom?" I always wanted my kids to have their own room and then an extra room. I thought it was like the epitome of bougie, right? Like an extra room, right? And so when it came to my business, I noticed it was still a little bit of a block. And I was like, okay, we're doing this forgiveness. How can I visualize this new me? And again, not better, just new, just different. How does she dress? How does she look? How does she speak to people? How does she show up online? I literally would see myself stepping into her, right? Visualizing. And once I would say got really good at visualization. This is how you take your visualization to the top. You visualize, which is singing. Feel the emotions. Act out the scenario. So when it came to the 40,000, I had two visualizations. One was like I'm sitting at a table, like a card table. There's a dealer, and it's just all this money on the table. And he's like, "Take what you want." And I just take my 40,000. I just take it. And in my mind, I'm like, there's always money left. Like instead of making it like it's this grand, huge thing, I was like, oh, it's so much more left. It's just I'm not even being greedy with the 40,000. My other visualization was of my ideal client after they've worked with me. Okay. What are they saying? Like, I was like, I want my ideal client to be like, this was life changing. You changed my life. I now can do this. I'm referring you here. So I had these different scenarios and visualizations of, yes, me getting my money easily and effortlessly, and then also, what is it that my clients are saying to me? And then, how am I feeling as my clients are speaking to me? How are they feeling after they have worked with me? I attribute this so much to me attracting these great clients because I did these for 30 days straight. And I'm just sharing with you all a couple of things. And then most of that money, 36,000 of the 40,000 came in like the last 10 days of the month. Okay. So consistency does, you want to be consistent. But I want to share that because I feel like sometimes people miss, and don't get me wrong, I have a vision board right here in my office, vision boards, vision boards on your computer, on your laptop, all of those things do work. When you want to turbocharge it, you have a deadline, you like bills got to be paid. I want this now. And again, I'm using finances for yours. It could be travel, it could be freedom, it could be someone coming into your life. Getting into that emotion of already received, getting into their emotions of once they have received it too. Now, what is that like? Again, this would also put me in such a great mood. I would feel so good. I'm smiling. I'm happy. It also allowed me to know who I was not meant to work with. I had someone contact me via LinkedIn, and she was really like, she was like, I don't want to do this. I want a new job. I don't want to do anything. And I was like, yeah, you're not the one for me. And it was okay. I was like, and so also know this will help you repel, attract who you want. The next thing I did is aligned action. This is where the creating your own opportunities come. I had to stop the 15 ways to make $1 million, the 27 things. I had read all the books, I had all the degrees, I had a coach, and it was so hard and heavy. I was literally like crying. This is why I was like, I gotta try a different way. I was literally crying one time because although I came up just a little bit short of my financial goal, it was like 17 things on this person's 30-point checklist that I didn't do. And I felt like a failure. And I was like, but I have a life. If I would have done all of these things, would it, yes, I maybe would have made the money, but I would not have had a happy life. Right. So in creating my own opportunities, as I did the forgiveness practice, as I did my visualization, I then got really clear on the three simple things that I needed to do. It is going to be different from each person. When I take my clients through this, we talk about their intuition. What are the things that align with you? So for me, it was speaking. It was speaking. I'm great at speaking. So I was like, hey, I want to do more speaking engagements. I reached out to I think like two or three people and had three other people contact me. So I reached out to three. I think only one of them got back to me. Three other people contacted me with paid speaking and engagements. Two of those people were former clients, just so you know. Two were former clients. During those paid speaking engagements, I talked about my program and I was like, hey, if you want to work with me, just book a call. One of the people booked a call and it was a $10,000 client. And that was how I started to get clients. I said, I'm going to do speaking engagements. I'm going to reach out to former clients. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a program with leadership. I was like, I'm really good at that. That's what I did in corporate when I was working in HR. Very simple, very easy. That was it. No funnels, no 101 emails. And I love emailing people, don't get me wrong, but that wasn't the aligned action. I thought about this is what I want. This is who I'm stepping into. What is the easiest way for me to do this? Keeping this in mind. Do you all have any questions right now before I kind of go into some of the mistakes? Any questions? I'm going to keep moving on. The other thing, this is my little bonus thing, support and nervous system. Again, I said in the beginning, I was actually taking a manifestation class. I have a therapist. I think I have a slide about it. Yeah. I have a therapist, right? I recommend therapy for everyone. Therapy is not a problem. If you don't like therapy, who do you like going to that is also a trained professional that can help iron out some things? I had friends, I had professional colleagues, other coaches. I had a coach myself, I had mentors. I did not go into this thinking I'm going to do it all by myself, which is the typical Latrice way. When I stepped into that other version of myself, I was like, she does not work alone. She is not running her business alone. I actually hired help like someone like a virtual assistant. I have a virtual assistant now, and I have a resume writer and an interview specialist. I have an someone who does my executive interviews. It was amazing to open myself up to this guilt free. So, as a bonus, think about that. The support will also help you with your nervous system. For me, for my nervous system, if I got ADHD, a touch autism, my friend always tell me I got a touch autism, but I do have attention deficit. I tend to attract a lot of neurodiverse clients myself, but I am neurodiverse. I need to, if you can't see how I'm moving, if you all haven't noticed, I haven't stopped moving. I am aware, I can see myself. So for me too, I had to work on my nervous system. I did do the EFT tapping somewhat, um, but I did yoga. Think about what you can do. This is just extra support. I do think it's hard to take action when your nervous system is out of whack. If your body is out of line, it is hard for you to take aligned action. Do not ignore that. And I'm talking to y'all, women of color, Black women. Don't just push through. If you sitting here like, I'm going to just push through it, you will also find it takes you a lot longer and more energy to do things because your nervous system is out of whack. So please do not ignore that. Okay. And that was something I put that slide in. I kind of went back and put that slide in because I was like, you all need to see this. We have community. I kind of talk about support. Um, okay. So we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes. I want to do this really quickly and then I may get into some client stories. But I want to go into the top 3 mistakes women of color business owners make when they're trying to attract more income. And I like the word attract versus make because it just seems more easier. Like I'm attracting this instead of going out and trying to make it happen. Okay. And you can tell me 1, 2, or 3, which mistake are you making? You can just put in the comments. If it's 1, 2, and 3, no worries. Me and my clients have made all of these mistakes. You're behaving as a worker bee instead of a queen bee. This is the employer. Have you all ever heard like employee mindset, employee to entrepreneur mindset? It's actually a thing. Um, Black women and women of color tend to work more hours in the workforce, and then we translate that into our business. I'll share a couple of stories with that. So one, you're behaving as a worker bee instead of the queen bee. When I first started my business, I was doing this. Y'all, I was working so hard and I made 16,000 in a year. I was probably working like 40 or 50 hours. It was crazy. It was crazy. A year, not in a month, a year. Okay. You're connecting time and money, meaning you think there is a one-to-one relationship. This here, the first one means you're just working, 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 right? Like I was sitting here making funnels, doing Facebook, like just doing crazy stuff I ain't had no business doing, especially in the beginning of my business. Sorry. And then connecting time and money means you think there's a one-to-one relationship to time and money. Meaning if you want to make more money, you have to work harder. It's not true. That's not true. And then 3 is putting limits on yourself and your money. It's all right. I'm gonna try to find some water. This usually from something someone else told us or some external source. Like, oh, my friend said when she started her own business, she had to take a loss for the first year. Okay, that was her. I saw this woman online and she said you can't work from home and be successful. Okay, that was her, right? You're putting limits on yourself and your money, and then you act surprised when it comes to fruition. You said you was gonna make, 5,000 for the year, and you made 5,000 for the year. Or you said it was going to, take you 47 hours a week to make this, and it took you 47 hours a week to make it. You put the limits on yourself and your money, right? That is a complete mistake. The reason I like business, the reason I am now switching over and teaching more women of color about business versus careers is because there is no limit. There is no limit. And you do not need to go up in increments. I went from 16,000 a year to 89,000 a year to over 150 to multiple 6 figures in a year. You can jump. It doesn't need to take this natural arbitrary path that someone has made up. All right. So I'm going to quickly just go over these and then I'm going to share some stories with you all. Behaving like the queen bee, still trying to prove yourself, executing instead of strategizing, following instead of leading. I was Yeah, I was accused. My friend told me this. She was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" I was asking my assistant. I was like, "Do you think this is right?" And my colleague was like, "Why would you ask the assistant? You're the leader. You're the queen bee. You can ask like, like, hey, what's your opinion, but not follow her." And that's even I was getting mixed up, and I need to do that, right? Making sure that your staff is doing the work and you're not doing their work, right? Things like that. Not being the I'll do it person. If you find yourself in your business doing it all, you're doing the website, you're doing all the financials. You're the one delivering the work. You're the one doing all the marketing. That's not how it goes. You should have experts to do this. Now, if something is your expertise and you're great at marketing, even better, but you cannot be great at all things. And you should not be. Don't worry about it. So, what we talk about here is getting into that identity. Do you all remember when I said I was stepping into the identity of it? Here's the next mistake: connecting time and money. What you need to do, you have to disconnect the concept of time and money. It is not a one-to-one. When you start to disconnect the concept of time and money, your income will leap. You then could see you can work less, you can go on vacation. When I started to track it, I was having money and making sales while I was on vacation in Mexico with my husband. I was like, Dag, I was making just as much money on vacation as I was in my office working. Again, I was setting up systems, but in my mind, from my mindset, I had to do it. This mindset shift changed everything. It was the most difficult because, especially if you come from the workforce, then your time is connected to your money to an extent, or so they have us believe. But you think about it. If your salary, then if you work 37 hours a week, you're getting the same amount. If you work 52 hours a week, you're getting the same amount, right? But we think as professionals that our time is connected to our money. So if we want more money, hence we need to work more and commit more time. Not true. You need to have this is the once you shift this, more ideas will come. I was forced to do this because I was like, I cannot work more hours. I need to take care of my mother. I had my son right here who wasn't in daycare. My husband was actually active duty in the military at the time. Well, I had to disconnect this. I was like, this cannot be true for me. We have just been conditioned to believe that the more hours equals more money. But if you look at celebrities, if you look at some of the richest people in the world, it disproves itself because they cannot work as much. They cannot work all of these hours for as much. They have more money than they can spend in multiple lifetimes. So it's no way that they have worked for every single dollar. And then you can start to ask yourself, how have other people came into money? Some people hit the lottery, some people inherited, some people find money. It's so many different ways that money can come to you besides your time. And when you start to see this in your business, it opens you up. When I started to see this, then I was like, oh, yeah, this client just renewed. I didn't even have to do anything. Or this person just referred me to someone else and they were like, yeah, we want to work with you. I've had clients refer me for speaking engagements at their company, clients that want to partner with me on things. Money come not dedicated to, not dictated from my time. Does this make sense? I asked this because I've shared this before and I had a lot and people had questions about this. Let me check the comments. Yes, yes. Okay. Any questions or any thoughts about this concept of disconnecting time from money? Because once you get this, and don't get me wrong, it is going to take some practice because we have been conditioned that time equals money. right? And therefore, we look at our value, right? But your income is not determined by your time, it's determined by your value and your alignment. But value is not your time. We think the more time I put into something, the more value I have, the hard work lie, okay? When I stopped trading dollars for hours, I started operating from a place of I am magnetic to money and clients, and they flow, and the flow completely changed. So I had this saying, I would be like, money flows to me money flows to me constantly and consistently. And then I had another thing I would say, I would be like, there are 10 great clients who are ready to work with me now. Right? I'm like, they're ready to work with me now. Now, not after I send an email, not after I do this. They're ready to work with me now. And then don't put limits on your money. Do not put limits on your money. Okay, here's the solution. Money can come from anywhere and any time. Okay, in careers, this looks like I can only make money from a job, right? My business is a little side hustle. I can only make money from a job. What I found with business owners is they're like, I can only make money this way. Like, I see some people, doctors. So I have some clients that are therapists and doctors who have their own practice. And they're like, money can only come from insurance companies with my patients. And I'm like, but is that true? Like, can you partner and get money from like referrals? Can you get money from speaking engagements? Do you want to possibly write a book? Do you have a course or a concept? Do you have something you can share? Money can come from anywhere. I got caught up in this too of like, if I make this 40,000 and it has to come this way, I was like, I'm not going to include the money from my speaking engagements. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. My bank account counted it. You have to see money can come from anywhere at any time. It is not only like from one source. And this is when I talk to people, I hear this. They're like, I have one package, and so money only has to come from there. Like, well, you can have one service or one package, but money can come from anywhere, especially if you're good at something or have an expertise at something. Okay, this will set you free. Let it. Do not put limits. Don't think just because someone else said, oh, I'm going to take a loss the first year that you have to take it. I was helping someone with their business plan and she was like, this, I'm just going to have a loss. And I was like, do you want to lose money? Like, she was like, no. I was like, well, then don't put that. Don't do that. Don't put your money in a box either. What I like to say is like, I would like this amount or better. When I set the 40,000, I was like 40,000 or better. When I set my goals, or if I want a $10,000 month, I'll say I will make 10,000 or better, 10,000 or more. Leave it open. Okay. It can come from anywhere. Any questions about this? Any questions about this one? Because this is one of my favorites. All right. So if you're like, Latrice, this is my favorite slide. If you're thinking, I know, but my situation is different. I want to share with you all some of my client slides, but I also want to hear about your unique situation. What's going on with you all? I am here to help you have this is team dream business and secure your freedom. That is my specialty in Dream Life CEO. I am going to be here. I think we're getting to the end of the presentation. I'm going to share like some client stories with you all, but I am here for you. I want to hear, what questions do you have? What kind of stuck out to you all the most? If you want to book a call, if you're interested in working with me, I have a Calendly link. So it's calendly.com/Latrice. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's not letting me click it. I'll put this in the comments, in the comment section. And then if you book a call and choose to enroll and work with me, I'll share more about my Dream Life CEO program, but you will get a 1-hour Dream Life Blueprint session with me. And just to share with you all what my dream life CEO program it is specifically for women of color who have their own businesses. You can still have your full-time job or you could be working in your business full-time, but you know that you are ready for more. You may be burned out, stressed out, and you know there is a better way to run your business. You want flexibility, you want freedom, and you want the finances. I help you do that. I specialize in manifestation and client attraction. That's what we would focus on. How do you manifest your dream life and how do you attract those dream clients that are going to value your service, pay your rates, and continue to refer you and renew with you? All right. Any questions overall? I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Any questions overall? We kind of went through a lot. I wanted to, and we ended right at an hour. I am going to,
Hi.
is
Um,
it why? Let me see.
yes. Yes, hello there.
Okay.
I guess I don't have my own business. I do work for a company, but um, I guess like the whole busy bee one that you showed kind of like reminded me of like the imposter syndrome, and I kind of feel like that's an issue that I have, or have had. Um, And so I just appreciate this whole thing about
Mhm.
manifestation, it is real. And if I had never experienced it, I would think, maybe it sounds creepy or, it sounds weird, but, it has literally happened to me before that it just came to me that I needed to write down the amount that I wanted to bring in. And even though the job I went for wasn't offering that amount, I was like 10,000 over. They still ended up giving me that amount and a little bit more. So it's
Wow.
yeah, so it's like I know exactly what you're referring to, and I could only imagine that, that it could be even more, that's there. But I just wanted to say that, I've just been encouraged, to be the leader and, not be reactive, but maybe more proactive. And so I appreciate it today.
Thank you. I am glad. Yes, it doesn't have to be hard, but I tell people you do have to commit to it. What is it that you want from your life? And it
Mhm.
can be so easy. With my career coaching clients, we incorporate mindset manifestation all the time. And one of the things I have them do is actually write their own offer letter. So, what do you want? And nine times out of 10, they wind up getting that exactly what they wrote down. Like getting it out of your head on paper and then focusing and committing to it will it'll is amazing.
It builds your confidence for sure. It really does. So, thank you so much for everything.
Any other questions? Did anyone ever have any questions or comments? I'm gonna I'm gonna show I had a couple of questions that came in, but I wanted to see. Let me see. All right, thank you. Okay, so Ashley says she's heading out. Any questions, or did anyone else want to share about what they're experiencing, whether it's in their career or business, what they're going through? We're all friends. Y'all can come off mute. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. All right, I'm going to share with you all some of my client stories. And then if you all have any questions, feel free. Let me see if I can and then I was trying to share. my virtual coffee link with you guys. So if you wanted to schedule a call, if you wanted to share privately, you can do that. But it is not, let me see. All right. Yeah, I know sometimes me and the tech are friendly and we get along great. Other times it just does what it wants. All right, I'm gonna put my Calendly. It'll say leadership legacy sales call, but it is it's the link to book a call with me. I'm gonna put this in the chat. All right, there we go. And then all right, I'm gonna go back to presenting and then we need to see how can I share while doing this. Okay. And then y'all let me know when y'all can oh, okay. Can you all see this? Can you all see? Okay, so this was my client. She was starting a therapy practice. And when she came to me, I will share this. She was actually a former colleague. So when we talk about clients can come from anywhere or opportunities can come from anywhere, she was someone that I used to work with. She had been a therapist for 20 years and she wanted to start her own therapy practice. She had been told it would take her a year to fill her practice. She was still working full time. So she was like, I just need 10 clients. She's like, 10 clients for her at that time was full time. But she thought it would take her 12 months. She thought she had to be on social media all the time. The one thing is, she's like, I need a website. She was like, Latrice, we can't move too fast because I need a website. She also thought she needed it for all of you all who anybody who works with patients. She's like, I need to be credentialed with every insurance company before I open. And I was like, now I have worked with insurance companies, I have worked with organizations, so I knew that wasn't true. Again, she was putting limits on her income, she was putting limits on what she could do. And when I was like, this is not true, what is the real thing you don't want to do? The only thing she didn't want to do was be on social media. So I said, okay, you don't need to be on social media. She didn't need to pay somebody for a fancy website. She had the credibility. This is where we worked on her mindset and manifestation first. I was like, what is your dream life? She wanted a fully booked out business that she could do part time while keeping her job and something that she could work. Ultimately, her goal was to have something that her and her kids could have. That was her legacy, right? We filled her entire practice in just 2 months. We got rid of the limits because they were fake limits. They were not real. All right. And sometimes you got to know what is real and what is fake. They were fake limits. The way we were able to do this in 2 months is because we were like, do you need to be credentialed by everyone? No, she could offer self pay, which is what she did until she became credentialed. And then we were like, how do you get your ideal clients? For her, she wanted to work with Black women and women of color in her therapy practice. One of the things she did was get listed on directories, specifically Therapy for Black Girls. If you all have not heard, it is a great directory if you need to find a therapist and you can look it up by your zip code, right? No social media, no funnels, no fancy website, through directories and referrals. Because she had already built up a reputation, she just needed to tap into that. So we took her through a process and I was like, what is your intuition telling you to do? And she was like, I got some colleagues I could just tell I'm starting my own business and I think they'll refer people to me. And that is exactly what they did. So she was able to book out her practice and get this income coming in 2 months instead of 12 months. She was able to hire her daughter on part time because she had booked out. And she eventually started to phase out working so many hours at her full time job. This is how it looks put together. I wanted to share this with you all so you can know like what the results are. Let me. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. As you are, if you have any questions while I'm going through this, just let me know, okay? Let me see, was this my, let me go back. This was my client, Kenya. She was a business owner and CEO. She actually had an HR consulting practice. She was working upwards of 60 to 70 hours a week. She was like, she had flexibility, but no freedom. She was staying up till midnight working because her business was running her life instead of helping her create this dream life. It was running her. Then she felt guilty for not showing up for her family. It was just a vicious cycle. She then also had an employee who thought she was more like a partner and so was doing the work she wanted to do instead of the work that my client needed her to do. Again, when we looked at what is the dream life she wanted for herself, one of the things she wanted to do was take midday naps. She was like, I want to take midday naps, you guys. Oh, oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys. I am loving the positive feedback. Thank you. But yes, if you are finding yourself working like crazy, you do not need to do this. Again, we disconnected the concept of time and money. We taught her that she could take midday naps. She had to manage her business, block that calendar, stop working at 6 p.m. every single day, no exceptions, manage her employee. And what wound up happening is she finally had the freedom, not just the flexibility, and she actually doubled her income. She went from 100,000 in her business to 200,000 in 1 year while working less and taking midday naps. She did this because she disconnected the concept of time and money. She did not have to work more hours to make more money. Okay. This is what being a dream life CEO is about. Your ability to have your dream life while still running your business effectively. All right. I think I have one more. All right, yeah, we got one more. And this is my client, Jenny, entrepreneur, business owner. She actually was running a nonprofit and went from 200,000 to 600,000. She thought she plateaued and she actually was like, I can't make any more money because if I start, I think it was 400,000. She was like, if I make 400,000, then I'm going to get audited. And I was like, so get audited. I think it was something with a nonprofit hitting that amount that triggered something with the IRS or something. I was like, then do it. Just have all your documentation. But she was putting limits on her income. And so she came to me and was like, I want to go back to work and have a six-figure salary because she was not paying herself six figures. She was playing small, having a thriving business, but it wasn't showing in her financial income, and she didn't have an aligned strategy. Again, we went through the manifestation and visualization process of what is it that she wants in her life. She wanted to work less. She had been running this business for 20 years. Her kids were grown. She wanted her life back. She wanted to hire a cleaner. She wanted financial flexibility and financial freedom. We had to help her disconnect the concept of time and money, get clear on what she wants, continue to work on that visualization. Then she had three simple aligned actions that she took. One was simply going after more funding. She was actually going after just enough funding to cover her expenses. We were like, well, go after more funding for abundance. She went after more funding and actually got the funds, the grants. She actually was awarded those. She tripled her income using manifestation and aligned strategy. She was able to start paying herself a six-figure salary and hire more employees to do the work so she wouldn't have to do it herself. All right. Same woman, same gifts, completely different level of alignment. All right. So I think that's it that I wanted to share with you all. Let me stop sharing. Oh, I'm looking at the comments. Thank you all so much. All right. I'm gonna unpin myself. I feel like my face is really big. Thank you all for staying on. Thank you, Wad. Thank you, Stephanie. Any comments or questions you all have before we head out? You can come off mute. You all are all good. But all right, thank you all so much. Thank you for staying. You all have a wonderful night. If you have any questions, any comments that come up, feel free to message me. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying it's excellent presentation. You all have a good night. Bye.